What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of MLB action here on Thursday, August 22nd. Wednesday was a pretty decent one, guys. It could have been great. We missed a couple tough ones, but we had the Giants -1.5 at +100. Webb was great in that game. Crochet, not really so much, but that Chicago White Sox bullpen was somehow absolutely lights out. San Francisco's bullpen gave up 4 runs in the 9th inning. Just not a good game by them. We followed that up with a couple wins there. We had the over in the Arizona-Miami game. There was 18 total runs scored in that game and a win for Arizona, so we'll definitely take that one. Easy win there. We also had an easy win on Minnesota-San Diego. That over as well. There were 15 runs scored in that game, an 11-4 win there for Minnesota, so another win. Put that one up. We had the Brewers -102. That was a very tough loss, guys. Milwaukee gave up 2 runs in the 9th inning and then eventually lost to a grand slam there in the 10th, so annoying stuff there. Milwaukee definitely should have won that game. We did finish things off with a win, guys. We had Kansas City -1.5 at +110. That was a 3-0 shutout there for the Royals. Their bullpen and their starter had a good outing there, so good night there for the Kansas City Royals pitching staff. A 3-2 day, not a huge winning day, but definitely a winning day, so we will for sure take that, guys. Let's get back after it and find some value on this fairly full Thursday slate. Take a second and hit that like button. It's a big thank you for all the content and it only takes 1 second. If you like these videos, go ahead and join our community by subscribing so you don't miss out on our daily content. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description and go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with any bets you're looking at today and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We are committed to responding to every single comment every day, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Cleveland Guardians going on the road to take on the New York Yankees. Cleveland comes into this game fresh off of an 8-1 loss there in game 2 of this series. Cleveland gave up a ton of home runs there in game 2, just did not have a very good time. Yeah, that was tough stuff there. Cleveland going to be trying to bounce back in this one, handing the ball to Gavin Williams. He's 2-5 on the season with a 5.02 ERA. He's coming off a very rough start against the Milwaukee Brewers. He's been a little bit of a yo-yo kind of starter, guys. He'll have a really, really good start and then a really, really bad start. I mean, 4 innings, 6 hits, 5 earned runs, and a home run at Milwaukee and a 5-3 loss. Kind of a tough look. His start before that, though, at the Twins, guys, 6 innings, 4 hits, only a single earned run, and a 2-1 win there for Cleveland. So we'll see what we actually get from Gavin Williams in this game. Obviously, it's a little bit up in the air. We're not too worried about what we're going to get from that Cleveland bullpen, guys. They've been the best bullpen in Major League Baseball pretty much all season long. A 2.64 ERA coming out of the pen. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. We have to see this team produce more offense than they did there in game 2. More like what they got in game 1 would be preferable, where they scored 9 runs, but they've scored 1, 9, 0, 1, and 3 runs respectively over their last few games. So not really swinging the hottest bats out there right now. They really need Quan and Ramirez to do the heavy lifting for this offense, and that just has not felt like the case recently. So we'll see what they can do. It could be a little bit tough out there, though. They're going up against the Yankees, who obviously come into this game fresh off that much needed win. That win snapped a 3-game losing streak. They're going to be handing the ball in this one to Garrett Cole, who's 4-2 this season with a 4.15 ERA. He's coming off a great start at the Tigers, guys. Back on the 16th, he went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits and 0 runs while striking out 8 and walking 2 in a game we eventually saw the Yankees win 3-0. So he's throwing the ball well. Seems like he's back on track. Over his last 3 starts, he's been very, very, very good, and he's been good out in 4 out of his last 5 starts as well. So I'm expecting pretty good stuff from Cole here down the stretch, as long as, you know, things can hold up and all that jazz, but seems very, very likely to be the case, and that we'll get good work from him in this game. In terms of their bullpen, the Yankees have been a little bit sketchy recently. Their bullpen ERA is currently sitting at 3.74, not nearly as good as it was at some points earlier in the season when they were, you know, up there competing to be one of the best 2 or 3 bullpens in Major League Baseball. Doesn't really seem like that's going to be the reality anymore, so they're going to be leaning a little bit more heavily on this offense, which did not let them down yesterday, guys. We saw Judge homer twice, Juan Soto hit a home run and drove in 5 runners there. So yeah, just great stuff out there. We see Judge up to 47 home runs, batting .334. Just absolute crazy stuff from the Yankees slugger there. This team is 3rd in the majors in runs scored, 1st in the majors in on-base percentage. We see they've scored 8, 5, 2, 0, and 3 runs respectively over their last few. So an offense that's definitely due to kind of come alive. So maybe we'll see that in this game. And looking at the numbers for this one, we've got the Guardians at +142, the Yankees at -164. We've got over-under showing of 8 or 8.5 out there. Cleveland's only 35-32 on the road, so above 500, but not, by a lot. The Yankees, not an amazing home team either necessarily. I mean, 32-28 at home isn't dominant. so not a lot of big trends to lean on there. I mean, the Yankees at minus 164, that seems a little bit of an expensive price, but with Cole on the mound, that makes sense to me. If you wanted to take the Yankees minus 1.5, you've got lots of faith in them. You can get a very excellent, very, very good price there, minus 1.5 at plus 125. So that's definitely something we have to take into consideration. I don't know if I'm quite brave enough to take them minus 1.5 in this game. I mean, Gavin Williams hasn't really been looking amazing. There's no way around that. But he is coming off a bad start, which would indicate that he's due for one of his good starts. So that gives a little bit of reason for concern. But yeah, he's just not that good, guys. So yeah, definitely have to think about the Yankees minus 1.5. Also, looking at the over-under here, we've got some kind of mixed trends. Cleveland's a pretty big under team on the road, and the Yankees are a pretty big over team at home. We've got 8s and 8.5s still out there. So in general, guys, I would probably be leaning a bit towards the over. I think we'll see some offense here from Cleveland in this game after a terrible game yesterday. But overall, guys, I think the Yankees to win this one is the better value. Taking a minus 164, totally fine with me, but also taking them minus that 1.5 with a very good price tag. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Colorado Rockies going on the road to take on the Washington Nationals. The Rockies come into this game fresh off of a 6-1 loss there in Game 2 of their series at Washington. Colorado, not necessarily a team that's headed anywhere very positive very quickly this season at 47-80 on the year. They're going to be handing the ball in this game to Cal Quantrill, who's 8-8 this season with a 4.59 ERA. His last time out was a decent start against the Padres, guys. I mean, 3 earned runs over 5 innings on 6 hits and 2 home runs allowed. Not amazing stuff, but we did see the Rockies get the 7-3 win in that game, so I guess he did enough to, help his team get the job done. Over his last 5 starts, I would say he's had 4 decent ones, but none that really were elite, and he hasn't exactly been taking on a murderer's row of opponents. I mean, well, I guess San Diego twice, the Angels once, Boston once, San Francisco once. There's some decent offensive teams in there for sure. So we'll see how he looks in this one going up against what I would not necessarily term as a decent offensive team. In general, the Rockies bullpen is a huge concern, guys. They are the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball, a 5.53 bullpen ERA. Absolutely embarrassing, and the offense has not been amazing, guys. They've scored 1, 3, 3, 3, and 7 runs respectively over their last few games. They're 17th in the majors in runs scored, 22nd in the majors in on-base percentage, and these are all numbers that are compiled from them getting to play half their games at Coors Field. So not really an offensive team that scares me too much. So we'll see what they can do here against the Nationals, who come into this game 57-70 on the year, fresh off that 6-1 win. They've won 2 out of their last 3. They're handing the ball to Patrick Corbin in this one. He has not had the most fun this season, guys. 2-12 on the year with a 5.92 ERA. He's coming off of a decent start. I mean, 4 1/3 innings, 7 hits, only 2 earned runs allowed there against the Phillies, albeit in a loss. So, not exactly great stuff there. Obviously, Patrick Corbin, not a pitcher that we're, super interested in backing as, like a very positive kind of, guy to have out there on the mound. In terms of their bullpen, the Nationals haven't been terrible all season long, so I guess we'll give them that. They're currently around league average, maybe slightly below average with a 4.09 bullpen ERA, so maybe the bullpen looking a little bit better out there than Patrick Corbin, but the offense, although they are coming off a game where they scored 6 runs, not really impressing me too much over the course of the season. I mean, they've scored 6, 1, 6, 1, 2, and 3 runs respectively over their last few. They're 19th in the majors runs scored, 25th in slugging percentage. Not a lot of great power numbers coming out of Washington at the moment, so just not really a unit that I'm super high on. I mean, we've got Luis Garcia Jr. leading the way, batting .294, and he's got 62 RBIs, but yeah, at this point in the season, those kind of numbers really not all that enticing. So looking at the numbers for this game overall, guys, we've got the Rockies at plus 102, the Nationals at minus 118. We've got over-under showing of 9 or 8.5 out there. Colorado is only 18-46 on the road. The Nationals are only 28-33 at home. Generally speaking, on the side in this game, guys, I am leaning towards the Rockies at plus 102. I think Quantrill's not a bad starter out there, really. I do think Patrick Corbin is a very bad starter. Obviously, I'm always going to be worried about that Rockies bullpen, though, so that's a big problem for them every single game, almost, it feels like. So yeah, generally speaking, I'm looking at the Rockies as the side in this one. In terms of the over-under, we've got both teams showing trends towards the over, with Colorado's trends being pretty significant, 34, 27, and 3 to the over on the road. There's some 8.5s out there still, I believe, so if you wanted to go ahead and jump on 8.5 as an overplay, I could get behind that as well, but it's definitely my second favorite bet on this game. Generally speaking, I do think the Rockies are in a pretty decent spot to win this one. Moving right right along here, guys, we're looking at the NL Central showdown between the Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals. We saw the Brewers take a very tough 10-6 loss there thanks to an Arenado grand slam home run in the 10th inning after we saw the Brewers bullpen below it there in the 9th inning, giving up 2 runs. So pretty disappointing stuff. That kind of messed us up having a very, very good day instead of just a good day. The Brewers still have they're 20 games above 500, and they've got an 11-game cushion over the Cardinals there in the NL Central. Milwaukee's handing the ball to Freddie Peralta in this one. He's 8-7 on the year with a 4.00 ERA. He's coming off of a very good start against Cleveland, guys. 6 innings, 4 hits, only a single earned run allowed. So he'll definitely take that. He needed it after a couple of rough outings there against the Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves. Generally speaking, Peralta, he's been a bit all over the place this season, guys. At times he looked very, very good. At other times, really not so much. The last time he took on the Cardinals was back on May 11th. He went 6 innings, gave up 8 hits and 3 earned runs in a game we saw Milwaukee win 5-3 eventually. So he also has one dominant start against the Cardinals, but that was so much earlier this year. I'm not really sure how much we can take from that. So yeah, a little bit up in the air what we're going to get from Peralta. I think it's a little bit less up in the air what we'd get from that Milwaukee bullpen, but man, they scared us a little bit last night, looking not so good and costing us some money. So that's a little bit rough, but they are still third in the majors with a 3.35 bullpen ERA. So got to give them some credit there at least. The offense for the Brewers, guys, not looking the same out there without Yelich. I mean, they've scored 6, 3, 2, 2, 5, and 6 runs respectively over their last several games. Just not going to be putting up the same kind of numbers when you lose one of your better hitters, guys. I mean, they're 8th in the majors in batting average, 11th in the majors in runs scored. They're the 3rd best on-base percentage team in the majors, but these are all numbers I expect to take a hit here down the stretch. So we'll see what they can do, but I'm not super duper high on this offense anymore. They're taking on the Cardinals. They come into this one fresh off of that desperately needed win. They're only 62-64 on the year, though. They've been in pretty much a free fall lately. They're hitting the ball to Miles Michaelis in this game. He's 8-10 this season with a 5.41 ERA. His last 3 starts have all been very, very problematic against tough, kind of against tough opponents. I mean, a bad start against the Dodgers, sure, that could happen to anybody. A bad start at the Royals, that could definitely happen to anybody, but a bad start at the Chicago Cubs, that's kind of a bad look. So we'll see what we get out of Michaelis in this game. I mean, he's a veteran, I guess, and yeah, I don't know. It's kind of tough to peg this guy. I mean, last time he faced Milwaukee, 6 innings, 3 runs, 3 walks and 3 strikeouts. I mean, that was at Milwaukee back in May. So we'll see what we get from him in this game. I'm not really expecting miracles from Michaelis. I'm also getting a little bit annoyed about the Cardinals bullpen that's been having a bit of a rough time lately, guys. They're down. They were like top 5 for quite a while, but they're sitting with a 3.70 bullpen ERA. Haven't been having an amazing time lately, and the offense, guys, I know they're coming off a game where they scored 10 runs, but it didn't feel like a game where they scored 10 runs, really. We saw a grand slam there from Arenado. That's great. But the Cardinals, 24th in the majors in runs scored, 20th in slugging percentage. Like, this is just not a great offensive team. No matter how you want to slice it, I just can't trust this team to put up a lot of runs, even against Peralta or the Milwaukee Brewers bullpen. So, looking at the numbers for this game, we've got the Brewers at -118, the Cardinals at +100. We've got over-under showing of 8 or 7.5 from this game. Milwaukee is 35-28 on the road, so a pretty solid road record. The Cardinals are 31-30 at home, so they're a bit better at home, don't get me wrong, but generally speaking, on the side in this game, guys, I'm definitely leaning towards the Brewers -118. This has a good chance to end up in the pinned comment, as you know, they're obviously in bounce back mode after letting one get away yesterday. So we'll see what they can do, but I've got zero faith in Michaelis. I've got some faith in Freddie Peralta, but not a ton. So looking at the over-under, guys, we got both teams showing very slight trends towards the over, and we've got over-unders of 8 or 7.5 out there. I think I like the over 7.5, to be honest. I don't think that's going to be one of my core plays, though. I do think we're going to be on the Brewers -118, though. It seems like an excellent spot for them. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the Detroit Tigers going on the road to take on the Chicago Cubs. We didn't quite put the Tigers into the pinned comment, guys. We were leaning towards them yesterday, and they sure came through with an 8-2 win there at Wrigley Field, so we'll definitely take that. Had to feel good there for the Tigers, who are only 62-65 in the year, so not exactly having the season they imagined. We didn't have a confirmed starter for the Tigers yesterday, which was one of the reasons we weren't able to get them into the pinned comment. They ended up going pretty much full bullpen start mode, so that does make us a little bit worried worry about what the bullpen's going to look for this game, where they once again do not have a confirmed starter. So a little bit problematic here for the Tigers. We'll see who they eventually end up putting on the mound. I don't really know if they've got the pieces to do another full bullpen start necessarily, but if they have to, that's definitely a concern for us guys, because there's going to be some depleted arms out there. There are going to be some guys that have to stay out there whether they struggle or not. So we'll see what the pitching situation looks like for the Tigers. I mean, generally speaking, their bullpen hasn't been terrible. A 3.92 bullpen ERA is for sure respectable. We'll see if they can put up some runs. I mean, they scored 8 runs there in game 2 of this series, so we'll definitely take that. They saw Green, Sweeney, and Carpenter all homer in that game, so very, very good stuff from the Tigers, who over the course of the year haven't been the best offense. 22nd in the majors in runs scored, 25th in batting average. Like, they need a little bit of help here. Having Riley Green out there and hitting the ball well and, back on the field after a kind of prolonged absence there for a while has to feel good, but it took him a while to break this game open in the 9th inning with that Kerry Carpenter home run. So we'll see what we get from the Tigers offense in this game, going up against the Cubs, who come into this one. They've won 3 out of their last 5. We'll give them credit there, but they've lost 2 of their last 3. They're 62 and 65 on the year, 11.5 games back of Milwaukee in the NL Central. They're handing the ball in this game to Justin Steele, who's had some great moments this year. I mean, he's 3-5 overall with a 3.10 ERA. He's coming off of a very abbreviated start there at Toronto. I can't remember why it was such a short start back on the 17th. I'm not really sure. 2 innings, didn't give up a hit, looked very, very good. 3 strikeouts in that one. I would assume it was weather shortened or something like that, but he's looked great over his last 3 outings. Very, very good out there. Not taking on the toughest opponents necessarily, but seems like he's throwing the ball well at the moment, so we'll give him some credit there. In terms of their bullpen, the Cubs haven't been bad either, guys. They're certainly top 10 at the moment, a 3.64 bullpen ERA. Nothing to look down on there. Maybe not coming off of their best game necessarily, but I think we can see them bounce back in this one. I don't think the Tigers really have the legs here for their offense to just go ahead and keep on crushing. In terms of the Cubs offense, not looking amazing, guys. 2, 3, 0, 3, and 6 runs respectively over their last few games. We've seen some good stuff from Happ. We've seen some good stuff from Bellinger this season, but over the course of the year, guys, they are 24th in the majors in batting average, 21st in slugging percentage. Like, this just isn't really a team that you can trust to put up a lot of runs, or really, just consistently put up any runs, to be totally honest. So we'll see what we get out of them in this one. It seems like they should have a relatively easy pitching matchup going up against either a very depleted Detroit bullpen or maybe some sort of rookie starter coming up from the minor league. So we'll see what it actually ends up being, but I'm not high on their offense overall. Looking at the numbers for this game, we've got the Tigers at plus 176, the Cubs at minus 210. We've got an over-under of only 7.5 in this game. Detroit is 30 and 33 on the road. Chicago is 35 and 28 at home, so a pretty decent home team. In terms of the over-under, we've got Detroit as a slight over team on the road and the Cubs as a significant under team at home. With an over-under of only 7.5, I would maybe lean slightly towards the over, especially with the Tigers likely to be doing a bullpen start. I'm not interested in taking the Cubs minus 210. That's way too steep of a price, but if you take a minus 1.5, you can get them at around plus 105, plus 110, something like that. That seems relatively appealing, but I can't give you a really, really strong lean on this game until we eventually see who's starting the game for the Tigers. So keep an eye on that pinned comment. This is one we could end up updating throughout the day. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Tampa Bay Rays going on the road to take on the Oakland A's. We see the Rays come into this game winners of 5 out of their last 6 overall to get to 64 and 62 on the year. So they've been doing some positive things lately. They're handing the ball to Jeffrey Spriggs. He's 1-1 on the year with a 3.86 ERA. He's coming off of back-to-back very good starts against very good offensive teams, guys. He shut down the Arizona Diamondbacks his last time out, 5 innings, 4 hits, only a single earned run in a game we eventually saw Tampa Bay win 6-1. His start before that against Baltimore, guys, 2-1 win there for the Rays. He went 5 innings, gave up 6 hits, and only a single earned run in that game while striking out 8 and walking 0. So his last couple starts, very, very good stuff. It seems like he really got up to pitch against these elite opponents. This is only going to be his 5th start of the year, so he's pretty freaking fresh coming into this, into this game. So expecting very, very good stuff from Jeffrey Spriggs here as he, just continues to look good since making his season debut back on July 30th. In terms of their bullpen, the Rays can be a little bit questionable, or more like they were very questionable early in the season, but things have kind of come together. I want to say they're somewhere around 10th to 12th in the majors with a 3.78 ERA coming out of the pen. That is absolutely not a problem, given how bad this team was earlier in the year. They have to feel good about where the bullpen bullpen's at the moment. The question for the Rays is kind of their offense, guys. They've scored 4, 1, 0, 8, 6, and 5 runs respectively over their last few. They did hit the ball well in that series against Arizona, not exactly killing it so far in this series against Oakland, but they're looking to win this game. That would win them the series 3-1. So the Rays offense, generally speaking though, 28th in the majors in runs scored, 27th in slugging percentage. Like, not a team that's really loaded with sluggers, loaded with guys that you're scared of at the plate, but generally speaking, they've been scoring enough runs recently to get the job done. So we'll see what they can do here going up against the Oakland A's, who have now lost 3 out of their last 4. They're 54 and 73 on the year, so not exactly headed anywhere great really fast. They're hitting the ball in this one to Osvaldo Bido, who comes into this game sporting a 3.40 ERA, making yet another start here. And guys, his last couple of starts have been absolutely lights out. 6 innings, 1 hit, 6 strikeouts against the San Francisco Giants. He also had a fantastic start against Toronto. Before that, guys, 6 innings, 2 hits, 0 runs allowed, 5 strikeouts, and 1 walk. Just looking very, very good. Honestly, before that, he had a good start against the Dodgers. He did have a bad start against the Angels back on July 28th, but the dude's not going to be absolutely lights out. I mean, he started things off this season in the bullpen, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it looks like definitely spent some time in the pen. So, yeah, we'll see what Bido looks like out there in this one. Honestly, I'm expecting pretty good stuff for him going up against a team like the Rays, who have had their problems at the plate. Absolutely no doubt about that. In terms of the A's, bullpen situation, it's been much better than you would have expected over the course of the year, guys. 3.57 ERA coming out of the pen is elite stuff. Top, what is that, 6th in the majors right now? So, yeah, they'll definitely take that. The bullpen's been good pretty much the majority of the season, it feels like to me. So the real thing holding this Athletics team back has been their offense. I mean, they've scored 2, 0, 3, 2, 2, 7, and 1 run respectively over their last few games. Like, just not a team that can hit the ball well. They've had some weirdly big offensive outburst kind of games, but yeah, just not an offense that I personally am super high on, and there's just not the numbers to back it up, guys. I mean, 25th in the majors in runs scored, 27th in batting average, batting .231 as a team. They're 24th in the majors in on-base percentage. Like, this is just not a very good offense, and they're taking on a pretty tough pitching matchup in this one, guys. So looking at the numbers, we've got the Rays at -116. We've got the Oakland A's at +102. We've got over-under showing out there of 8 or 7.5. It seems like we're at mostly 7.5s at this point, and guys, I think under 7.5 is very, very reasonable in this spot. I mean, Tampa Bay 30, 26, and 1 to the under on the road. Oakland 33, 29, and 1 to the under at home. Those are not huge trends. Those are slight trends, but I definitely think under 7.5 is the play. And this one under 8 if you can find it, guys. And in terms of the side, I lean slightly towards Oakland at +102. It's just a better price, and in a game that I think is just going to be a very close, very low scoring affair, I do like taking the plus money a little bit, but generally speaking, guys, I think the under is the play in this one, and really it's got a chance to end up in the pinned comment. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the Cincinnati Reds going on the road to take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Reds come into this game fresh off of a high-scoring 11-7 win there at Toronto. They're gonna, hop into this new series here after winning their last series 2-1. They're 62 and 65 on the year, so a ton of work still to do if they want to head anywhere positive, but there have definitely been positives for this team this season. They're going to be hitting the ball to Nick Lodolo in this one. He's one of those positives, guys. He's 9-5 on the year with a 4.55 ERA, but he is coming off a real bad start, guys. 2 1/3 inning, 8 hits, 8 earned runs, in a blowout loss there against the Kansas City Royals. So not his best stuff. His start before that at Milwaukee was much, much better. That was definitely a positive one. So he's got some positive stuff to, rely upon. He's had some very, very good outings. He was really, really good in the early goings this season. So we'll see what we get from him in this one. I mean, the last time he took on the Pirates was back on June 18th, and he was dominant. 7 innings, 4 hits, only a single earned run allowed in a game that eventually ended 2-1 in favor of the Reds. So very, very good stuff there. We'll see what we get from Lodolo in this one, but I'm expecting a bounce back performance and a very good outing here from the young 26-year-old. So we'll see what we actually get. We'll also see what we get from that Reds bullpen that's been very, very good down the stretch, guys. 4th in the majors with a 3.56 bullpen ERA. Absolutely no problems there. This bullpen has been very, very good down the stretch. One of the major strengths of this team, absolutely for sure. The thing that's held this team back over the course of the season, guys, has been its offense. I mean, we've got Elly De La Cruz leading the way. He's putting up some reasonable numbers, a .262 batting average, 22 home runs, one of the most exciting young players in baseball, absolutely no doubt about that. But not really enough to carry an entire offense. And they are coming off a game where they scored 11 runs. Don't get me wrong, but they've scored 11, 3, 6, 1, 1, and 1 runs respectively. So not a team that's necessarily swinging some, red hot bats coming into this game. They're 28th in the majors in batting average, 25th in on base percentage. They are 19th in slugging percentage and 14th in runs scored, but those runs scored, a lot of those came in weird blowout games there at the Great American Ballpark and stuff like that. So not exactly an offense that I trust to put up runs consistently or really put up a lot of runs in general. So we'll see what they can do in this one. They've got kind of a rough matchup here going up against the Pirates, who come into this game losers of 3 of their last 4. They're floundering. There's no doubt about that at 59 and 67 on the year, but they're handing the ball to one of the most exciting young pitchers in the game. We've got Paul Skeens on the mound. He's 7-2 this season with a 2.30 ERA. He's coming off a good start against the Seattle Mariners, guys. 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs allowed. Something of a bounce back after having a very, very rare rough outing there against the Dodgers. Generally speaking, guys, he's just been insane this season. He's cooled off a little bit after a crazy, crazy hot start, but just got to give this dude all the credit in the world. He's been fantastic out there at 22 years old, nonetheless. So, yeah, love what we're seeing from Skeens. The last time he faced the Cincinnati Reds was back on June 17th. 6 innings, 6 hits, only a single earned run allowed, and he struck out 7 in that one. So, expecting very, very good stuff out there from Skeens in this game. Absolutely no doubt about that. No reason to expect him not to be very good out there. The dude has been absolutely nuts. We are worried about that Pirates bullpen a bit. I mean, a 4.24 bullpen ERA is not great. And what is that, bottom 7 or 8 there in the majors? So that's a little bit concerning, but they haven't been, terrible recently. They've been playing some very, very low scoring games. And I think there's a possibility we could see that in this game as well, because their offense leaves a lot to be desired, guys. They've scored 0, 4, 3, 3, 7, and 5 runs respectively over their last few games. They need Brian Reynolds to kind of carry the way. I mean, yeah, it's just been tough, guys. This is just not a very good offensive team. 23rd in the majors in runs scored, 26th in the majors in slugging percentage. We've got Hayes on the IL. Like, this just isn't a team that I can really trust to score a lot of runs, and they're going up against a tough pitching matchup. So looking at the numbers for this one, we've got the Reds at plus 136, the Pirates at minus 146. We've got over-under showing of 7.5 or 7. So the odds makers also not expecting a ton of offense in this game. It seems like it's pretty much settled at that 7.5 number, and we're pretty happy with that, guys. We've got Cincinnati. Honestly, neither team is showing big trends either way towards the over-under, but regardless, guys, we like under 7.5 in this spot. I think we're going to see offense be at an absolute premium. I think we're going to see great stuff from both Lodolo and Skeens. I am a little bit worried about that Pirates bullpen. That could be a problem. If this game was at the Great American Ballpark, that would also scare me, but it's not. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and take under 7.5 in this one as my biggest lean. If you're determined to bet the side in this one, I would say go ahead and take the Pirates and Skeens, see if he can get the job done in this spot. But overall, guys, I think the under is far better value. Next up, guys, we're going to be taking a look at the Los Angeles Angels going on the road to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. We saw the Angels lose 3-0, getting shut out there, in Game 3 of their series at Kansas City. Now they got to go to Toronto, so that's not exactly the shortest flight there. Got to be a little bit annoying to go from Kansas City all the way to Toronto, but we'll see if the Angels show some signs of fatigue. They are 54 and 73 on the year, so not like they have a ton to play for. They're hitting the ball to Griffin Canning, who's 4 and 11 on the season with a 5.41 ERA. He's coming off of a terrible start against Atlanta, guys. Honestly, his last 2 starts have been a bit lacking. I mean, 7 innings, 8 hits, and 4 earned runs in a start for Canning is not bad, but that was at Washington in a game we eventually saw the Angels lose. His last start, though, was against the Braves. 4 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 home runs given up in that game. Like, this dude straight up not having a great time this season. So not expecting miracles out of Canning this year for all of the very, very obvious reasons. And yeah, just not somebody that's found a lot of success this season. The Angels bullpen has also been problematic. Haven't been as bad recently as they've been over the course of the season, but a 4.10 bullpen ERA definitely leaves plenty of room for improvement. And this offense, guys, they're coming off of getting shut out. They've scored 0, 9, 3, 1, 3, and 3 runs respectively over their last several games. Yeah, I mean, they're tied for 25th in the majors in runs scored. They're 24th in the majors in slugging percentage. They're only batting .235 as a team. Like, this is just not a very good offense. I just don't have a lot of great stuff to say about the Angels right now. Another struggle of a season, another wasted year of Mike Trout's career. I guess at least he was injured for most of this season, but yeah, not a lot of positive stuff to say about the Angels, who are going on the road in this one to take on the Toronto Blue Jays, who just lost 2 out of 3 against the Reds. They are sitting at 59-68 on the year. Another team that's not having the best time, guys. I mean, we've seen some good stuff from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. this season, but we also saw him saying he'd totally be okay with being traded. So yeah, we'll see how that shakes out down the stretch here. But we've got the and not down the stretch. Obviously, I know the trade deadline is over. I mean, down the stretch of his tenure here with the Toronto Blue Jays. But generally speaking, in terms of the pitching matchup for Toronto, we don't have a confirmed starter for the Blue Jays right now. So we don't know who they're going to be running out there. If this does end up being a bullpen start from Toronto, that is a huge problem. They are one of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball, a 4.98 bullpen ERA, pretty much a disaster situation if you ask me. And over the course of this season, guys, it just has not been good for this team. I mean, they are 9th in quality starts, but 22nd in batting average against, 26th in earned run average as a team. Like, just not a pitching staff that we're very high on. So that's a big concern in this game. And we're also a bit concerned about the offense, although it hasn't been as bad recently, guys. They've scored 7, 10, 3, 1, and 2 runs, respectively, over the last few. Like I was saying, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hitting the ball pretty well recently. We've seen some good stuff from George Springer. So there are some positives on this offense at the moment, don't get me wrong, but generally speaking, how high are we on the Blue Jays offense? I would say not super high, but they're going up against a pretty weak opponent in this one. So the fact they're 20th in the majors in runs scored and 18th in batting average could end up panning out to be something a little bit more positive than those numbers look at just looking at their face value. So we'll see what we get there. Looking at the numbers for this game, we've got the Angels at plus 142, the Blue Jays at minus 168, over under of 8.5 in this one. The Angels are 27-32 on the road. Toronto is actually 30-32 at home, so not a terrible home team. Kind of making that minus 168 price tag make a little bit of sense here. I do wish we knew who the starter was, but generally speaking, guys, I am leaning towards Toronto in this game. I do think there's a good chance they find a way to get a win here against the Angels. I'm not ballsy enough to take them minus 1.5 necessarily, but minus 168 seems reasonable, especially going up against Canning. In terms of the over-under, we've got Toronto as a significant over team at home and the Angels as a slight over team on the road. We've got an over-under of 8.5, so I definitely think there could be some value on the over 8.5, but like I said, guys, I'm going to need to see a starter for this game before I can be 100% sure, so make sure you're checking back to see that pinned comment to see whether or not this game, any aspect of it, makes it in there. Rolling right along here, guys, we're looking at the Houston Astros going on the road to take on the Baltimore Orioles. We got the Astros coming into this game fresh off of losing 2 in a row against Boston to lose that series 2-1. They've still got a 5-game cushion over Seattle there in the AL West, so I'm sure they're happy with that. This team was so far down in the dumps early in the season, it's been crazy to see their come up here, but they're hitting the ball in this one to Spencer Arrighetti, who's 5-11 on the season with a 5.20 ERA. His last start was a rocky one against the Chicago White Sox of all teams, guys. 5 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs. He gave up 2 home runs in that game. He walked 2 batters, like a big fall down after 2 crazy dominant appearances. He had a great start at Boston back on the 10th, guys. 7 innings, 2 earned runs allowed, and he struck out 13. He had a great start against Tampa Bay back on the 4th as well, guys. He struck out 12 in that one and only gave up a single earned run. So, he's been a bit all over the place. Maybe a little bit of arm fatigue, maybe a little bit of just looking past a terrible opponent there to, kind of get trounced by the Chicago White Sox. I'm expecting him to bounce back somewhat in this game, but he's going up against a tough opponent, so things could get a little bit stressful here for this 24-year-old who honestly has put together a decent season after a very bad start. So we'll see what we get from Arrighetti. We'll also see what we get from that Houston bullpen that's definitely had a come up as well, guys. They're sitting in 5th in the majors right now with a 3.56 bullpen ERA, and that is great for a bullpen that was well below league average early in the season. So we'll see what we get from the Astros pitching staff in general in this game. It's a tough matchup for anybody going up against the Baltimore Orioles. In terms of their offense, Houston has, they're coming off a game where they only scored 1 run, so that's obviously tough. They've scored 1, 5, 5, 2, and 6 runs respectively over their last few games. That's spanning series against Boston and the Chicago White Sox. So we'll see what we get from them in this one. This has not been a great offensive team in terms of runs scored over the course of the season, but they've been one of the top batting average teams all year long. They've been a very highly rated slugging percentage and on base percentage team, so it's kind of been a head scratcher all season long. Why can't this this team scoring more runs? I don't have a great answer for you guys on that one. It just seems like a constant issue for them. So we'll see what we get from him in this one. I am always going to be a little bit concerned with what we're going to get from the Houston Bats. So they're going to be going up against the Orioles in this one, who just lost 2 out of 3 against the Mets. Another team that's like struggling a little bit here down the stretch, but they're only a half game back of the Yankees in the AL East, so they're definitely going to be battling it out there. The Orioles are hitting the ball in this one to Corbin Burns, who's 12-5 on the season with a 3.10 ERA. He's in a bounce back spot for sure after getting just absolutely obliterated by the Boston Red Sox his last time out. 4 innings, 10 hits, 8 earned runs, and 2 home runs surrendered in that game. He hasn't necessarily been lights out over any of his last 5 starts necessarily, but it's all been pretty solid stuff. And I mean, we see that Baltimore is 4-1 over his last 5 starts, so definitely have to give Burns some credit. He's had a very, very good season overall. The last time he took on the Houston Astros, 7 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned runs back on June 22nd. So not exactly a dominant appearance, but not a huge problem either. So we'll see what we get out of Burns in this one. We'll also see what we get from that Baltimore bullpen, which has been a huge problem for them here down the stretch, guys. A 4.18 bullpen ERA. Probably not going to get it done for a team that has aspirations to win a World Series this season. So pitching staff problems, definitely a big problem here for the Orioles. And their offense has been a little bit off recently, guys. They've scored 3, 9, 3, 4, and 1 run respectively over their last few games. We've definitely seen Gunnar Henderson cool off a lot here down the stretch, which isn't super shocking for a young guy. They are still second in the majors in runs scored, first in slugging percentage. They're 7th in batting average, batting .255 as a team. Like, this is a good offensive team, don't get me wrong. We'll see what they can do here going up against a very young, relatively inexperienced starter. Looking at the numbers for this game, we've got the Astros at plus 142, the Orioles at minus 162. We've got over-under showing out there of 8 or 8.5. I would assume that's a number that's pretty much going to have settled on 8.5 at this point. You can still find some 8s out there, though, so that's out there for you if you're interested in it. Houston, 2 games above 500 on the road. Baltimore, a very solid home team, 37-28 at home. We've got mixed trends towards the over-under here, with Houston being a significant under team on the road and Baltimore being a significant over team at home. So, yeah, guys, this is a bit of a pick-your-own-adventure situation. I do think I'll tend to lean towards Burns as more likely to have the better bounce-back performance as opposed to Arrighetti. So go ahead and give me Baltimore minus 162, but at that price, I don't really think this is one I'm interested in putting in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Philadelphia Phillies going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. The Phillies come into this game fresh off of a much-needed 3-2 win there over Atlanta in Game 2 of this series. We saw Brandon Marsh get a 8th inning RBI that ended up helping them get that come-from-behind 3-2 win to help us out there. We'll definitely take that one. The Phillies at 74-52 on the year, having a great time. They got a 7-game cushion over Atlanta in the NL East. They're hitting the ball to Christopher Sanchez in this game. He's been very, very good this season, 9-8 with a 3.46 ERA overall. He bounced back well after a rough start against Arizona to absolutely dominate Washington his last time out, throwing a complete game, 1 run allowed situation, gave up only 2 hits in that one. Like, looked very, very good out there. So what are we expecting to see from him in this one? Seems a bit questionable coming off of a complete game outing, guys. I mean, yeah, do we really expect him to be able to go out there and throw, 6 or 7 innings again? Seems a bit sketchy to me. We'll see what we actually get out of him. I mean, obviously he's been very good this year. There's a reason he pitched in the All-Star game and all that, but yeah, I'm a little bit worried about a guy coming off of such an extended start, a 27-year-old, so, maybe not crazy young, so maybe he'll be all right. Maybe he can, absorb that kind of workload, but I'm a little bit, it's a little bit problematic for me. So we'll see what we get from him. We'll also see what we get from that Phillies bullpen. That has been a huge problem this season, a 4.12 bullpen ERA, not what this team was envisioning. I mean, obviously they've been a little bit better maybe as of late, but yeah, I mean, it can be a little bit rough. We got a pretty crazy rivalry going on between these two teams. There's some guys on both sides that clearly don't like one another, so we'll see what we get. Yeah, worried about the Phillies bullpen for sure, and still a little bit worried about this offense. I mean, they've scored 3, 1, and 4 runs respectively over their last few games. We've got Schwarber trying to do his thing. Bryce Harper looking decent out there. But I mean, 8th in the majors in runs scored, 6th in the majors, batting .257 as a team. Like, this has been a great offense all season long. It just seems like they're having a little bit of a rough patch at the moment. I do expect them to round into form here at some point. Just when that's going to be is definitely up in the air. It could be in this game, though, so we'll see what happens here as they try to, handle the Atlanta Braves, who come into this one fresh off of that loss, but have been playing much better recently. They had won 6 out of their last 8 going into losing that game. They're going to be handing the ball in this one to Spencer Schwellenbach, who's 4-6 on the season with a 4.04 ERA. The young 24-year-old's had his ups and downs, but recently he's been pretty solid. I mean, 5 innings at the Angels, 4 hits, 3 earned runs. Not a great start against a team like the Angels. His start before that at Colorado was very, very good, though. 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs. He's had some dominant performances, like shutting out the Mets over 7 innings back on the 27th of July. Is this somebody that we can super trust, though? I mean, I have my concerns, although the last time he pitched against the Phillies was back on July 6th, and he was great. 6 innings, 7 hits, only a single earned run allowed. He struck out 6 and walked 0 in that game, so I don't know. I've got some solid things, some solid thoughts about Schwellenbach. We'll just see what we get out of him in this game. He's going up against a pretty tough hitting team, so that can be tough, but he has a great bullpen behind him, which has to be a little bit comforting. I mean, Atlanta, the second best bullpen in Major League Baseball with a 3.29 ERA coming out of the pen. Really the big problem for this team, in my opinion, is their offense, guys. They scored 2, 3, 3, 11, 2 and 0 runs over the last few games. They really need big stuff from Ozuna to produce offense, and they're 16th in the majors in runs scored, 17th in batting average. They're 20th in on base percentage, getting on base at a 307 clip. Like, this is just not an amazing offensive team. So looking at the numbers for this one, we see it's pretty much a coin flip. We've got the Phillies -104, the Braves at -110. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. The Phillies are 30-29 on the road. Atlanta is 33-26 at home. We see mixed trends towards the over/under. I mean, the main trend to follow in this one would be Atlanta. They're 37-21-1 to the under at home. That's a pretty big trend. Am I interested in taking under 8 in this game, though? Absolutely not. I think I lean slightly towards the Phillies -104 in this game. It's kind of tough with Sanchez coming off of such an extended start, though. I don't know if we're going to really see him dominate, and I think we're going to see this be a relatively close game. So yeah, give me the Phillies as a slight lean in this one, but I don't think I like it enough to put it in the pinned comment. Last but not least, guys, we're looking at the New York Mets going on the road to take on the San Diego Padres. The Mets come into this game fresh off of winning 2 out of 3 against Baltimore in a very close series, guys. Both the games they won in that series were 4-3 one-run wins, so they'll definitely take that at 66 and 61 on the year. They've got plenty of work still to do, but they've been playing relatively well. They're hitting the ball in this one to Luis Severino, who's 8-6 this year with a 3.91 ERA. His last start, guys, was a complete game shutout against the Miami Marlins. He went 9 innings, he gave up 4 hits and 0 runs while striking out 8. So very, very good stuff there. Nice bounce back spot after having 3 pretty weak starts in a row. Bad starts at Seattle, at Colorado, and then at home against the Twins. That makes me pretty worried about how you're throwing the ball. I mean, to go out and have a great start like that against the Marlins and throw a complete game, like, that's all fun and, cool and all that. But man, what does this show me about your, how good of a pitcher are you going to be down the stretch for a team that is going to desperately need you to be very, very good? I'm definitely concerned about Severino in this game having some fatigue and stuff like that, so we're going to be keeping a close eye on him. We will also be keeping a close eye, as always, on that Mets bullpen that's been better recently than they've been over the course of the season, but a 4.03 bullpen ERA isn't exactly, amazing per se. And the offense, guys, I mean, they've scored 4, 5, 4, 2, 4, and 7 runs respectively over their last, 2 series, and that's spanning a series against Baltimore and the Miami Marlins. I mean, I don't know, guys. This is supposed to be like a top 10 offense maybe, but I don't really see it at the moment. 10th in the majors in runs scored, 12th in the majors, batting .249 as a team, 9th in the majors in on-base percentage. Like, I don't know, guys. I mean, Lindor's done some good things. We've seen good things this season, repeat Alonso and stuff like that, but I don't know. This just doesn't feel like an offense that I can really trust. So we'll see what they can get going here against the San Diego Padres, who come into this game fresh off of an 11-4 loss there against the Minnesota Twins. We had the over in that game, so we will certainly take all of that offense. That feels pretty nice. They're hitting the ball in this game to Dylan Cease, who is 12-9 on the season with a 3.46 ERA. He's coming off of a decent but not great start against the Colorado Rockies. 5 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs against a weak opponent isn't amazing. He didn't have his best stuff, guys. He had 5 walks in that game. game. So expecting him to be a little bit better in this one. I mean, we did see him throw a no-hitter against a weak hitting opponent back on July 25th. That was at Washington. That was pretty crazy stuff. But since then, he's had some few minor issues, but hasn't looked terrible except for in that really bad start at Miami. So seems like he's back on track. I'm expecting very good stuff from him in this game, generally speaking. I mean, Cease has not been bad this season. The last time he went up against the Mets was a debacle, though, guys, back on the 16th. 3 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 7 earned runs, and 2 home runs surrendered in that game. So a little bit worried about him in this particular matchup, but not necessarily too much. I think he could be okay out there. In terms of their bullpen, the Padres have gotten much better, guys. A 3.87 bullpen ERA is drastically improved from a team that was terrible coming out of the pen early in the season. So I'm sure they're very happy about that. I'm sure they're a little bit annoyed their offense was only able to produce 4 runs against the Twins in Game 3 of that series, but they've scored 4, 7, 5, 2, and 8 runs respectively over their last few. They're 8th in the majors in runs scored. They are the top batting average team in the majors. They are 7th in the majors, getting on base at a 326 clip. Like, this is a pretty good offensive team. So looking at the numbers for this game, we got the Mets at plus 130, the Padres at minus 146. We got an over-under of 7 in this one. The Mets are 30-28 on the road. The Padres are 35-28 at home, so a very good home team. But guys, we are very interested in the over-under in this game. We've got the Mets at 30-24-4 to the over on the road. San Diego at 38-24-1 to the over at home. We've got an over-under of only 7 in this one. I think the odds makers could be way off on expecting these two guys to have lights out performances. I mean, Cease has been having his problems recently and got absolutely shelled by the Mets early in this season. Severino's coming off of a complete game shutout. I don't think he's really got what it takes to be pitching well after pitching 9 innings. So I think we could see both starters struggle, guys. I'm going to be going with the over in this game. I think it's a good spot and a very, very minuscule number. I mean, only 7. That seems pretty crazy. It seems like mostly you're going to find 7.5s out there with maybe a 7 at BetMGM, but we're going to go ahead and take over 7 or over 7.5. I think we're going to see enough offense to get over that number in this one. In terms of the side, if you're forcing me to bet the side, I guess give me the Padres at minus 146 on the hopes that Cease won't be bothered by the Mets here and that we'll see a bad start from Severino. But generally speaking, I think the over is the play. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out StumpTheSpread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.